It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. Mamdani. Mm-hmm. Here's one interview. You want to hear this?
Sure.
And this is all leading to something here, a story that I saw yesterday in the New York Post. Here's one he did with ABC 7 out of New York.
You said you would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu based on the 2024 International Court Arrest Warrant. Next UN General Assembly, as mayor, would you do that?
So I've said time and again that I believe this is a city of international law, and being a city of...
Do we have to go any further? I believe this is a city of international law.
Okay. All right.
And then on capitalism.
So when people say democratic socialist, right? And I'm curious what you think this means. I mean, do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism. And I think ultimately the definition for me of why I call myself a democratic socialist is the words of Dr. King decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
A communist bringing up God.
Yeah,
but,
for all of God's children.
But I do that because of the story from the New York Post. Liberal politicians and the Democratic Socialist of America warn Governor Kathy Hochul to back Mamdani's agenda or get booted from office. We knew this was going to happen, and I still think the odds are she will succumb.
Oh, I think so.
Governor Kathy Hochul's already on the re-election hot seat as liberal politicians and activists warned her Sunday to support Mamdani's tax hike plans or get voted out of office. The Democratic Socialist of America, empowered and gaining mainstream influence after Mamdani's win in the mayoral election this month, held a Tax the Rich, also known as Let's Go Bills, rally in Union Square on Sunday as Democratic state lawmakers warmed to the tax increases over the worries they could face primaries and the wrath of liberals in next year's election. DNC member and Brooklyn State Senator Jabari Brisport told those gathered that he twice tried to work with Hochul on passing universal childcare legislation, only to get rebuffed. Kathy Hochul, if you get a third strike, you're out. Brisport said to whoops and applause at the rally. Whoop.
Mm-hmm.
Brisport said there's no way to get universal childcare without raising taxes on the rich, and that Hochul has to cooperate. So if Hochul, does sabotage it and blocks it, I think the plan is that she has to go. Mamdani wants the state government to increase taxes on the wealthy and up the corporate tax to pay for his agenda. Now, wants the state government to increase taxes, income tax on the wealthy in New York City. I don't know if he's expanded that to the rest of the state, but he does want the corporate tax rate across the state increased to supply New York City with more money. And
right.
As we said before, corporate taxes are passed on to the consumer, and they hurt the poor the most. And that's why Democrats love stealth taxes. They can tax the poor, and they look at the poor that vote for them and go, these people are the biggest idiots you could ever possibly imagine. We're putting a stealth tax on them. They're the ones that are paying for it, and we've got them convinced we're taxing the rich. These people are complete idiots. Mamdani is depending on the stupidity of the New York Democrat.
Oh, yeah.
And so far, he's gotten it.
Yep.
He wants the corporate tax to pay for his agenda, which includes free universal childcare, rapid transit service, and ramping up housing construction. Hochul endorsed him in the. Isn't this great? I endorse him, but I'm against everything that he wants to do.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said that.
No. I love this restaurant. I just hate all their food.
But said she would hold the line on taxes, a stance immediately that puts her at odds with Mamdani and his energized supporters. Critics and political insiders have said Hochul created the situation by some of her own doing. With her support for Mamdani having empowered the left wing of the party, DSA-backed challenges are now possible for anyone who doesn't go along with its extensive policy goals. And this happened before the election when there was a rally and everybody was screaming tax the rich at her.
Yeah.
And later on when she was asked about it, she said, I thought they were saying, let's go Bills. So there you go. The corporate press and the political establishment tell us it won't be possible to tax the rich. They're saying that Governor Hochul is opposed to raising taxes. Well, Governor Hochul, 12 days ago on Election Day, over 1 million voters in New York made it very clear what we want. The political threats come as state lawmakers are ready to act on the tax plan weeks before Mamdani takes office. Senator John Liu of Queens and Assemblywoman Farrah Forst of Brooklyn just introduced a bill that would allow the city to impose a 2% surcharge on New Yorkers' incomes over $1 million. Under the bill, an individual making $1.5 million would face a surcharge on the $500,000 above that threshold. They claim the surcharge could raise $4 billion a year. So there you go. We knew this was going to happen. Yeah, and then they're looking to raise the corporate tax across all of New York State. By the way, New York is doing it exactly like we have advised liberal states to do. New York is following what we have told these liberal states.
You can pay for all these things.
You can pay for all these things. Do it. Tax the hell out of everything in your state to pay for your nirvana. And I think they should go in New York State, go for a state health care plan, too.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
What, health care doesn't matter?
Right.
Free water. Why
That's
is
right.
anybody paying for water?
Well, they're already going for the no ownership of property, which is to say eventually no rent, free living, free water, free food, free health care. It's all free.
This is why, again, with federalism, we've got 50 different states, and the 50 different states can do what they wish to do. But pay for it. California, do it. Newsom, have the guts. Have the guts to do it in your own state. Do nationalized health care.
Toll every single street in New York City.
No, that's Texas.
No, I mean every single street, not just the highways.
Oh, okay.
Every road. Every street you turn on is
Right.
going to be a new toll.
Right. If you want to get cars off the road, that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
But as we have said, the reason that, the whole thing, the shutdown, they all claim was about health care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have the ability in all these liberal states to pass your own. You have the votes to pass your own health care plan. It failed, and thank goodness. Who was it who brought it up yesterday? That he couldn't do it in Vermont? It wasn't Bill Maher, was it? Yeah, it was Bill Maher.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, Bill Maher brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie Sanders, he couldn't even get it passed in Vermont.
No.
Why? Nobody wants to pay for it.
Right.
They want your great-grandchildren to pay for it. Why can't Republicans say that every single day?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's obvious. It's true. And it was also always obvious to us that Hochul was going to get backlash eventually, and she's going to have to cave. Or she's going to be gone.
William McGurn had a op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal. Affordability cost a bundle. Republicans need a free market answer to Democrats as Democrats turn towards socialism. And he talks about a book written back in 1968 that said, this is what the Democrats are doing right now. That quality enshrined in a man who, having killed his mother and father, throws himself at the mercy of the court because he is an orphan.
Yeah.
That's basically what they're doing. Today in Washington, we have a new example. It comes in the form of Democrats who have spent years making life more expensive for Americans and who propose fixes that reflect the same government-first thinking that made things affordable in the first place.
Right.
Does anyone really believe that the answer to what ails us is more government spending, yet another government program? This should be an opportunity for President Trump and Republicans. They could point out that most of the time Democrat proposals to make certain things affordable simply shift who gets stuck with the bill. And that's why they should say they want their grandchildren to pay for what they want today.
Yep.
Do that. Pound that over and over and over. Why don't Republicans do that?
I don't know.
Where were the Democrats now hollering about affordability during the 4 years when President Biden was spending, regulating, and otherwise expanding government in ways that priced the American dream out of reach for millions? One example, when Mr. Biden took the presidency in 2021, the median age of first-time homebuyers, 33. Today, it's a record. Never been higher, 40. For many people, that means they can't even think about buying a home until their children are grown. As he went to press, the president was preparing to speak at the McDonald's Impact Summit Monday evening, addressing franchise owners and suppliers. It's a good venue for him, as Americans saw last year during the campaign when Mr. Trump worked at a McDonald's drive-thru. This time it's part of his response to the Democrats' affordability message. Democrats have an answer, but it's wrong. Socialism. It wasn't that long ago that Bernie Sanders was a gadfly from Vermont, but with the Democrat Socialist of America's Mamdani's decisive election as mayor of New York City and fellow socialist Kate Wilson in Seattle, these socialists are threatening to transform the Democratic Party into their own image. Sunday on Fox News, Democratic former chief counsel to the House Judiciary Committee, Julian Epstein, summed up where the party is. The problem with the Democratic Party is that all the energy and charisma is with the socialist left. The moderates are a dying breed. Right now, they have no leverage. Republicans have their own challenges. For one thing, no one is going to confuse Mr. Trump with Adam Smith. Adam Smith, free markets. Mm-hmm. What the country today needs is less government, lower taxes, and lighter regulation to unleash the creative energies of the American people. But instead of a so bold an agenda, Republicans offer better management of what we have, which isn't enough. Mr. Trump has had incredible achievements in his push to getting America back to work, but he hasn't hesitated to intervene in the economy, notably by imposing tariffs. Last week, he was compelled to roll back tariffs on more than 200 agricultural products, including coffee and beef, because they were proving counterproductive. It makes for a confusing message. The classic free market approach is to recognize that the government's job is to create the conditions for Americans to better themselves. The government ensures a sound currency, the rule of law, and space for people to use their talents in the marketplace. We elect Republicans, or we used to, not because they better manage the economy, but because they know that it is wrong to assume that smart people with political power can pick winners and losers and what the right price should be. So there you go. So now we said all the time, that's the problem right now. You really don't have Republicans have offered nothing on affordability, nothing of a goal of what to do, nothing on what we feel is a criticism that could at least long-term move America back towards their position to show what the Democrats are doing. When you point out that the reason that we're here today is because of government intervention, and you say government intervention isn't going to get us here because now what they want to do is tax your grandchildren more to what we want today, at least it's a message. The message is out there. because we know the Pew Research poll a couple of weeks ago showed Americans all want the deficit cut, but they don't want anything cut.
No, because one of the problems with people being underwater for so long is that anybody promising free stuff is going to catch their ear. When you're not working, when the other side isn't working to lower prices, which should have happened starting in January of this year, should have been a plan coming in the door. And it's clear that you don't have a plan, then they're going to listen to the other side that's promising free things on the backs of people in the future. What do they care? They're not even having kids anymore. It's not going to be their grandkids that pay for it. They're not going to have grandkids.
That's a great out, isn't it? It's not going to be my grandkids. I don't plan on having any children.
Exactly. I'm not going to be around when the whole thing crumbles down, and I won't have children, so I don't care.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. Costs are not the same each month. If 9,600 miles are driven one month and 10,000 miles the next, two different sets of costs apply for each month. For example, if your tractor payment is $1,850 per month and you drive 9,600 miles in the month, your tractor payment is costing you 19.3 cents per mile. Drive 10,000 miles, though, and that same payment will cost you 18.5 cents per mile. This is one of your major fixed costs while paying off a truck loan. The difference in this example is only a fraction of a cent, which may seem like small change, but it ultimately amounts to $960 more annually on the bottom line. Because though fixed costs do not go down over time, you can reduce your cost per mile with more paid miles. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, my gosh. This may be one of the best things Jesse Waters has ever said about the people that support Mamdani. Here we go.
He's not 80, and he's not a ditzy little lady. His suit fits, he's good on TikTok, and single white girls love him. Single white girls love him because New York's expensive, and his plan sounds a lot like their college professors. And who cares if he wants government-run grocery stores? They don't cook.
He has a point.
I saw a comedian yesterday. It was just hilarious. He said, and it goes back a couple of years, but it was I think this was just recent because it sort of went viral, and it was, I don't even know who the comedian was, but he said, a lot of people don't eat at Chick-fil-A because of their stance on the LGBT community. Mm-hmm. These people should know all food is made by farmers.
Right. Yeah.
They don't cook anyway.
Right.
It's no big deal here. Why
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 cook?
is anybody concerned?
Right. Look at outlaw gas stoves.
It's going to be a fascinating next year. It really
what's
is.
a stove? What?
Daytime is overrated. Night are where it's at with Gary and Eric on Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Well, obviously, the White House now has gotten the affordability message because that's all they're talking about.
Right.
You know, the whole McDonald's thing yesterday. Here's the problem for the president now and for the Republicans. And it isn't all their fault. They're dealing with a society that has lived under a pretty big federal government for a significant period of time, and a federal government that has increased spending since the COVID years, which really happened under Biden, of really almost 50% more. You have, all the benefits that were provided, even though Americans did related to inflation. It's the term politics is always local and now is really true. Because you can sit there and back then say, yeah, look at this inflation coming. This is incredible. Yeah, it doesn't really match my 2000, but the inflation rate is down from what it was. And so I could use the cash right now because I have a problem right now. Yeah. But when you look at what when it comes to, for example, when it comes to the regulatory burden, Trump has done a great job, I think. When you look at things like the regulatory burdens that he has taken off of so much of industry, his rejection of the insanity of climate change, his promotion of fossil fuels. Yeah, right. All absolutely needed in this country. If he would have really gone after China the way we think he should have gone after China, it would have been much better. What they failed to recognize, and we said it really from day one, and it still amazes me today, except for the fact when he rescinded the tariffs on 200 different items, many grocery items the other day, it shows he knows. They all know. Mm-hmm. They all know tariffs have increased prices. You can do whatever you want. You can put out a Fed report that says, throughout history, you saw that one, right? Right, yeah. It doesn't mean anything.
No, that was everywhere on social media over the last few days. And look, because it really isn't a debate about inflation as you look at an inflation trend over the years. It's about the reality of people every day having to pay those prices and noticing those prices are becoming more and more unaffordable. There's a reason everyone on the right is using the word affordable, because it came back in their research. It came back hot. I think Ramaswamy was part of that, but their internals are showing right now that is the number one concern for their core is affordability. And so, you can have a debate about the impact of tariffs on inflation and everything over history, because here's the question I would have. Okay, now because you can look at the data and look at the trend, but what's not included? The rescinding of certain tariffs, like with steel tariffs. All right, so the Bush steel tariffs, they go into effect, and all of a sudden they had to be rescinded. So what would be the long-term effect, again, of higher tariffs on inflation? Well, we've never seen that because, again, the ill effect of those tariffs usually drives them to the point they have to rescind them, which is what Trump himself did just a couple of days ago.
Right. Because and that's the counter message that you're sending out. Yep. And it all depends to it. How do you define inflation? Well, we're talking long-term inflation over 2%, but in an era blah 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 blah. Right. That means nothing. All that means anything to anybody out there are prices. All politics are local.
Right. This is not an inflation debate.
Right. Even depending. Now, is it a price increase? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But we know that the inflation rate has come down since Trump. as we have stated.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
No.
When you see, for example, there was a poll out there that Trump is underwater with Hispanics big time. There are a ton of people who voted for the president that aren't MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
They voted for him because they said, normally I wouldn't vote for the guy. I don't like the guy. But you know something? He had a pretty good economy in his first term when tariffs were very limited, as we know.
Mm-hmm.
The job was great. I had a job. Everything was great. All of a sudden, boom. So I'm going to vote for him because of what they did here. And he said he will lower prices day one. These aren't people that are loyal to you no matter what. These aren't people that will make excuses for you, like you see a lot of the influencers. When I saw the other day, Trump is just a genius. See, Trump is a genius because he raised the tariffs and now he's lowering the tariffs when he realizes this is the best thing to do, and that's why he's such a great president. Now, come on, that's just kissing posterior as big as you can kiss posterior. What it shows is, no, he realizes that the tariffs he put on is increasing prices, and people want lower prices. And everybody is not MAGA. There's a ton of people who voted for Trump because they said, I don't like him, but he got the economy going, and I expect that he can do it again. And he told us he will get prices down. Day one, prices will start coming down. He didn't say that, and they're not thinking, nobody's thinking, well, what he meant was the rate of inflation will be going down as prices still continue to increase.
Yeah, right.
And so you can throw out all the mumbo jumbo you want, but politics, everything is local. And what's local? What things cost. And it really has been amazing to watch this happen when it was obvious he was going to have to come in and start rescinding the tariffs, especially the ones on food, which we have said over and over again are the ones that are killing him. And he would talk about eggs, but eggs are still up. And when you look at the things that people buy, as we went through the inflation report, because they would look at the whole number. Well, but it's under 3%. Well, it's 2.8%. That's way less than 9%, but that's 2.8% on top of the 20 to 25% increase in prices in the Biden administration. And you said you were going to lower prices.
Right.
That's what people are thinking. And when you start throwing the numbers at them and it's self-aware to them that they're not, they look at you and they say, stop BSing me.
Yeah.
You were a straight shooter the first time. I thought you were a straight shooter. Now you're trying to throw all these numbers and things at me and everything else. And when the best thing that you have right now is to say, maybe and hopefully we can have a $2,000 check to you that will come at the end of next summer or maybe after that. And maybe that could happen because if we're able to keep taxing American companies to redistribute that income to you, you've lost them.
Well, as they asked one senator, look, you're going to have to, if you're going to do an actual writing of the checks, it's going to have to go through Congress.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to pass.
Won't get the 60 votes, no.
No.
Well, it may. It might have now with the Democrats claiming that they jumped aboard it if Republicans didn't want to. That could be a thing that right now. Now, next year.
Well, the question is what kind of a mess would they, again, what does it become if it becomes this huge bill and the Democrats want to get on board?
And add more onto it.
And they've already set that limit. The talk is the limit, at least Besant has said, roughly the $100,000 or less range in terms of income. So now you're getting into redistribution of income.
But then again, are you crying wolf? The American public was expecting, remember, the Doge dividend, the Doge check?
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a tariff check. When Besant keeps saying repeatedly, by the way, that, well, we're also seeing it, and a lot of it will be in the form of the tax savings from the big, beautiful bill. What? That doesn't make any sense at all. That's not what the president is saying.
But part of the problem is the people of the United States. Republicans have to deal with what Democrats have mostly enabled, but also Republicans by saying government is the solution.
Yeah.
And so now, the public, when Democrats are delusional and the public becomes delusional on fiscal matters, and the including a significant portion of Republicans, and I'm talking about the voters. We brought you that Pew Research poll that said Americans believe that we can cut the budget 40%. Well, what would you cut? Foreign aid. What else? Nothing. We want increased spending on everything else. Even Republicans stating that. It shows you that we live in a fiscally delusional country across the board, where people soothe their conscience by saying, we need to cut. Just don't cut anything except foreign aid, which, again, is nothing in the federal budget.
Right.
And so when you see the results of that polling that was done, I think it was Pew that did it. Was it Pew that did it, or was it, I can't think of it. Was it Harvard Harris X? I can't remember. But you look at it, and the whole thing was Americans want to cut in theory, but not in reality. Well, that means diddly and squat. But that's what Republicans are dealing with. They're dealing with a public that is becoming more dependent every day on the federal government. How do you promote free market principles to them and say, no, we need to... How do you have the guts? I can't believe I'm saying this. How do you have the guts to say what Kathy Hochul said in New York? We're not going to tax the rich. They've been taxed enough.
No, she sounded like someone on the right. And, that's the problem. Look, there's a lot going on right now at this moment and gearing up because the GOP clearly knows. You better get it in line in 26 and get your message on point. Beyond the message, you can't just say things. You're in power now. You have to do things. You have to enact things in order to bring about greater affordability. One of the things that you look at this week with those food tariff exemptions, that's an all-out admission that it hurts people, that the tariffs hurt because you're rescinding them in order to do what? To bring relief. So let's quit being stupid. Let's quit being stupid. That's an all-out admission that tariffs hurt. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it.
Right.
If the tariffs didn't hurt, you don't need to change a thing. You're doing it to bring immediate relief. Full stop. There really is no more debate on that.
Well, that shows the desperation. I was, talking about the polls, and we know he pays attention to the polls, even though people said, well, the polls don't matter. Rasmussen, that is a Republican-leaning, pro-Trump polling outfit. Trump had his lowest approval numbers of his second term last Friday, 44%. They're watching it, and it's all about affordability.
Well,
and it's amazing how after the election, Ramaswamy said it, and then boom, they're focused on affordability.
Yep.
Can they be focused enough on it is the question.
I would love to have been a fly on the wall in that conversation about those tariff exemptions that led to this past weekend. How'd that go down?
Yeah. That would have been interesting to be a fly on the wall. Yeah?
But there were a number of people that went to the president and said, this is what you have to do, and convinced him to do it.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So I sit here and look at the next couple of years. The Democratic Party is absolutely going socialist.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Republican Party. I don't know where they're going to go. We did say yesterday, though, take out the personalities and the back and forth and the drama of the MTG Trump thing. MTG, it's not just about MTG herself, who we've never been particularly fond as a politician, but I do believe she represents a certain portion of MAGA that is not happy with the president.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have that. You have a Republican Party that, when it comes to, again, and you mentioned it, we both mentioned it, but you mentioned it last, I think, they really haven't touched on affordability. There is no plan. It's
Right.
almost as if, no, we won the victory of not, capitulating to the Democrats on the CR.
Right. The food tariff exemption is a start, but that's not a long-term plan. The question is, what are you going to do long-term?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.